doing sell by chat, how you start using engagement in your business to actually drive revenue. How's that sound? The reason why we don't make progress towards our goal is usually one of a few things.
Doing what you set out to do, what kind of problems are going to create for you and how to avoid those.
How does it even work? How would I even use it? And I feel like that's how people view sell by chat, because and
it all begins with engagement.
How do you triage and qualify and hold those conversations? And then
the engagement, I think, sits before the game.
The main thing that you're trying to do is like get someone to actually engage, get them to reply.
I am interested in what you've got, your interest, your party, your offer, your opportunity, whatever you're trying to sell me. Now let's have a chat about it.
That's job number one.
That's a different level of showing someone I see you moment.
You might identify some people that might be some good prospects, people that you want to start conversations with, and you're going to take the first step forward.
And that's when the outbound goes from a conversation of engagement to ding, ding, ding.
The chance of you starting the conversation, the chance of you getting a reply goes down tremendously.
Is that it's really nice if you're going to exit somebody because they're not a fit, that you have a really clever way of doing it.
Now we have them leaning in and we're ready for the next step in the process.
Are you actually the one who can make the decision?
You can kind of get a sense if this is going to be the kind of person that you want to work with or not, right?
How much money are you going to lose between now and that? And if you don't do this today, if you don't buy today, you're going to lose money.
To me, that's the most important is the second question,
your solution in their life.
I'll know what your priorities actually are based on where you spend your time and where you spend your money. So like
5,000, 10,000, or 50,000 people that are following you and you're not doing sell by chat, you're leaving a ton of money on the table.
We were talking about engagement. I think you shared something like right before we got started where you said like most people don't even know what sell by chat is, let alone how to do it. So I thought that'd be a really interesting place to start the conversation today, because what I've tend to find is a lot of times we don't do what is going to be the thing that's going to help us, whether it's in our fitness, growing our business, like whatever goals we have. Like the reason why we don't make progress towards our goal is usually one of a few things. It's just that like we're lazy, we're just not doing this stuff. Not usually the case with folks like you and me and the people that are listening to this show and like our audience. Or it's I've got a broken process. So it's like I've got a process, but it's just not working. And maybe it's not working the way that it used to because the game has changed. The way that people buy have changed or like whatever. And then the last one, which I think is pretty common, is like I just don't even know what to do or like what like how to solve, like I just don't even know what to do. So it would be like if you're a farmer and you're used to doing everything by hand and you've got pickaxes and shovels and hoes and like all these tools that you're manually working the land, and then all of a sudden Peterbilt comes on the scene and invents a tractor and you're like, oh my gosh, he's got this cool new machine. Like you can now till acres of land in the time that it would take me to till this whatever, quarter acre plot. So if you're still stuck with the shovel and the pickaxe and those kind of things, you're like, well, I know like this tractor thing looks like it could help me, but like I don't even how does it even work? How would I even use it? And I feel like that's how people view sell by chat, because whether it be in hospitality and info business and service, we have our way that we know that we've gotten customers in the past. Like how have we grown business? How have we gotten customers? And then we look at something like social and we see these guys with black hats telling us about doing engagement and sell by chat, and that looks like this shiny new tractor of like, sure, that probably could help me reach a lot more people and generate more sales, but like I don't even know where to start with that. So that's kind of where I think most folks are at, and I know a lot of the conversations that you have as well. So maybe we just start by defining, like when we talk about sell by chat, when we talk about engagement, one, what even is it? What's the problem that it solves for a business owner? Like where does it fit into the business? And then maybe let's get into like how could you actually start doing sell by chat, how you start using engagement in your business to actually drive revenue. How's that sound?
Cool. And I also like in there, like, what problem are you trying to solve? And if you were to be successful at doing what you set out to do, what kind of problems is it going to create for you and how to avoid those?
100%. Yeah.
You know, because to give you an example, like right now, like even inside our business, we've got so many open conversations, and, you know, we've got a team who is talking and doing sell by chat discussions and opening doors, but they just don't understand sometimes like how to process enough in enough time that they don't back up and you can't actually talk to everybody. So one idea can create more problems for you if you don't have a system in place.
Yeah, 100%. If not done right, I mean, you could probably do a lot of damage with that tractor if it's not wielded properly. But if you use it right, it should make your job a lot easier. It should help you get to your goals a lot faster. So let's start with, like, when we say engagement or when we say sell by chat, like, what is it and how does it fit into somebody's business?
Engagement is the art of having a conversation with somebody and being excited to communicate with them about not only something that you're trying to offer or sell or explain or illustrate, but also to engage with them to see what's going on in their world and create a two-way street for open communication. And engagement should build trust. It should build authority, and it should create an offer, and that offer or / opportunity. So I think engagement to me is setting up a discussion the right way that someone feels like they know you, can become to like you, trust you enough to buy from you. And it all begins with engagement.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, so engagement is literally just like, okay, the conversation that you're having with your market. And a lot of times this is literally like one-on-one conversation. Like, how many of those kind of one-on-one conversations can you have? So if you're a boutique hotel, your valet that is welcoming people into your resort or your hotel, like, that's probably going to be the first point of engagement for their stay for the rest of the time at the hotel, right? So the thing that the valet first says when he opens the door and, you know, asks for the keys or welcomes them, it, like, the questions that's asked right there in that moment, that's all part of engagement, all the way up through, you know, going to the concierge, checking into the room, to interacting with the wait staff and throughout. And the same thing can be true in our business, like digitally, right? So before someone ever shows up in person, you know, we reach out on social, we can start that conversation there. And I think that's what you and I are you know, recommending to folks and seeing is working kind of in our businesses and with our clients is that now in this landscape where we're all like tied to this thing, being able to start that conversation through somebody's phone in the place where they are already having the conversation, which tends to be on social, like an Instagram or a TikTok or text message, you name it, is probably a good place to start. So if that's what it is, so like engagement is, okay, we just want to have as many conversations with potential future customers to build know, like, trust, to actually build genuine connection, get them to trust us so that more of them give us money for the goods and services that we offer. Like, they're going to buy. We want more buyers that we can serve. Then what exactly is sell by chat, and how, like, sell by chat really is just then the process for doing engagement, right?
Yeah, well, it's moving them down the path. And I think the best analogy I had was when I was reading like Sell Like Crazy or from Sabri Subi, right? And they use the analogy of the football field, right? On one side, you've got the person who is trying to move the ball from one side of one part of the football field to the other side. So you've got 100 yards to go. That 100 yards is everything from they don't know you exist to the moment they actually buy from you, right?
Yep.
But the engagement, I think, sits before the game. So you're watching, you're a bystander at this football stadium, and you're watching this this person try to move the football field from, here to the end of the field. And you're like, man, that's the wrong play. That's the wrong, that's the wrong thing to say. It's the wrong pass. Like they keep going backwards, right? It's when you get it fine tuned, and you know how that conversation is going to happen. But to state what engagement is, I think you've got to get people to the stadium. You've got to make them want to watch the game. And then once they're in the game, then it's a conversation. So sell by chat is the football field. Engagement is what you get them to the stadium.
Yep.
And once you're in the stadium, I mean, it might take like, hey, Gabe, I want to know, do you want to go see the game next week? I don't know who's playing. I don't know. Are they any good? What's the story behind them? Have you guys ever seen them before? Oh, my wife's a big fan of that player. But, it's like how many conversations are like how many little interactions go back and forth and engaging just to get to the field. Then you're like, all right, now you've stated the intention that, yes, I am interested in what you got, your interest, your party, your offer, your opportunity, whatever you're trying to sell me. Now let's have a chat about it.
Yep.
And there's a whole nother series of conversation. That's where you're watching the ball move up, like front and backwards on the playing field. But that's how I would say what sell by chat is. It's watching people progress their conversations towards a buy.
Totally. Yeah. It's your process for having conversations over social. So if you wanted to introduce sell by chat into your business, because you realize, there's more people I can reach more people on social, on Instagram, on Facebook, on social. I can reach more people there. I want to start conversations there, and I want those conversations to turn into revenue. Sell by chat's going to be the process that you're going to do that, which essentially is just a process for how do you start conversations, how do you triage and qualify and hold those conversations, and then how do you bridge those conversations into whatever the next step is in your customer journey. So like if you're an agency and you're trying to win over agency clients, maybe that's having an initial conversation and discovery and getting them to some kind of strategy call or some sort of consultation call. If you are a boutique hotel or a restaurant, it might be having a conversation until you can get a reservation or getting a booking. If you sell a physical product, it might be having that conversation until the point where they subscribe to your meal service or purchase your product or become a brand ambassador, whatever it might be. Doesn't matter what the outcome is. It's going to be different for every business, but the sell by chat process is like the framework is always the same. Just like you can have, you live in a house, I live in a house, they've got walls, they've got kitchens, they've got bathrooms. Our houses are very different in the same way. There are some tried and true frameworks and pieces that make a successful sell by chat process that you just have to have, that we can happily dive into. In fact, I write a bunch about this in my book, Hook to Booked. Literally, I've got a 4-stage process for it. I know there's some things that you do with your team and how you run sell by chat. So maybe we just start at the beginning, like the very first step of the sell by chat process. I'd be curious what yours is. I can share what mine is. You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about this on Martel's coaching call yesterday. Was like lead gen, right? Mm-hmm. So you have lead gen, you get a lead, you get somebody who comes to you as a starting point of a conversation.
Yep.
On my side, how we start conversations is I'm all about compliments. So we have our system called the compliment ladder. I escalate you to determine, are you one, a good opportunity or are you a blazing hot opportunity, right? And it depends on how much time that we spend. So if I'm looking and researching you, and the more that I find the connections between what you do and what our offer is, the more stars you get. And the more stars you get, the more time we do homework on you. So if I spent 4 minutes on you, going down the rabbit hole, your website, your Instagram, your profit, not your profit, but your website, your offers, and I'm like, wow, these guys got some cool stuff going on, but they could use my help. Everything cool stuff, they could use my help. If there's not really like a place where I can insert and I don't get excited about it, you lose a star. And the more stars and the more excited I am about having a conversation with you, the more time I spend with you. So it's a little bit of time and a little bit about, is there something that you are doing that I can help with with our offers, right? And then that's in a star system. And then our compliments are given to you based on how many stars you have. So I will spend 4 minutes writing a compliment to you if you have knocked down a lot of the qualifications and gates, and we think that you're someone we can help. But I'm not going to spend 4 minutes giving you a big fat compliment if you guys, if it's just like, hey man, like, looks good, family looks good, you look good, kid looks great, hope you're doing great. That's it. Like, that's a 1 star, right?
Yeah.
A 4 star is, man, I was looking at your LinkedIn, your website's awesome. I looked at your LinkedIn. I mean, one of those posts really hit home to me. Like, it really resonated with what we're doing here. And I think I might have something that I could help you with. Would you be interested? Yeah. You know, that's a different level of showing someone I see you moment. And that's what I think compliments do. It's compliments say like, hey, you took a moment to check me out. So show me yours. I showed you mine.
Yeah, I like it. So I always go back to, and I know it, something I already shared on the beginning of this show and have shared before, but my favorite question, what's the problem we're trying to solve? And that's to me, is such a valuable question when we look at Sell by Chat as a whole, but also each step of the process. So the very first step of the process for me is always, well, the problem we got to solve, we got to start a conversation. Like, I can't have a conversation until we start a conversation, which it may sound obvious, but what you just mentioned, even in like how you give compliments, I would argue like the main thing that you're trying to do is like get someone to actually engage, get them to reply. So for me, that is always the first step of like, okay, great. We have someone in our sites, and our first job is not to sell them on our product or service. It's not to overcome objections. It's not to get them booked in or get a reservation. It's to just start the conversation, right? That's job number 1. So there's a few different ways that you can do that. We have to be aware of how is somebody how are we starting the conversation in the beginning? So in some instances, we have somebody that's already like stepping towards us. So like a lot of my clients, for example, they'll use SEO. They have potential clients that are doing their own research, that are going on Google, that are searching for like, hey, let me find a dog trainer in Nashville, Tennessee. And then they land on their website and they fill out a form because they're interested in dog training. That's very different than maybe I'm scrolling social media and I see some of Brady's content, or I start following you online, but I'm just, it's a little more passive, right? So there's 2 different strategies. I like to differentiate between inbound and outbound. Inbound is when somebody is already coming to us. They're requesting information. They come to our website. They fill out a form. They contact us. They reach out. They DM us first. Maybe you put out a high value content offer, or you put out bourbon night, or the birthday burger offer, and you're like, hey, DM me birthday burger, and I'll send you the thing. That's inbound. People are reaching out to you first. Outbound is kind of some of what you're talking about, where you might identify some people that might be some good prospects, people that you want to start conversations with, and you're going to take the first step forward. So these are different strategies. With inbound, I like to keep things very, very simple. I want to start with a question, and I want it to be a no-brainer question that they don't have to think about, that they can just answer yes or no to right away. So the dog training example, because we work with probably about like 40 different dog trainers. So I know this world well. We send out the first message is, hey, Brady, did you just fill out a form about dog training? Like, seems super basic because obviously they did. That's literally what they just did. But all I want is a yes. I don't want to ask them, hey, what are you looking for in a dog trainer? Or saw you filled out our form about dog training. Like, what are you looking for? Or, hey, what's going on with your dog? Now I might ask them, hey, what's your dog's name? Again, easy question for them to answer right away. They don't have to think about it, because the moment they have to think and there's friction, the chance of you starting the conversation, the chance of you getting a reply goes down tremendously. And we have literal stats on this because we build these AI sales assistants, these agents that will have these conversations back and forth. And if we can get just that first reply, we have a 42% booking rate, meaning if we can get the prospect to reply to a single text message, we turn 42% of those into a book demo, a consult, something of the like. So for inbound, I want a super simple question. For outbound, I think you're probably more of a pro at this, and I like your approach because you're giving the compliment really in a way you're trying to get some sort of response or reply so that you can start the conversation. Because how many times have you or I gotten a message in our inbox where it's more asking that, like, hey Brady, I see you're in Atlanta, you just got a new pup. We're a bunch of dog trainers here in the area and would love a chance to, show you what we could do with your dog. Like, it's an obvious sales pitch, right? Like right out of the beginning, where it'd be different if you had come to our site and requested our lead magnet or our training thing or whatever. But if that's not the case, we want to start a little softer, and we literally just want to use the compliment ladder. So inbound, make it super simple, direct, yes, no question, something they don't have to think about. If it's outbound, again, the goal is just starting conversation. Let's use the compliment ladder. And that's step one. Before we can do sell by chat, we literally have to start the conversation.
And I feel like the thing that we've been working towards and learning about is stating the intention, right? When I hear classic sell by chats, are you here for the vids or the videos, or do you just want to grow your business? I'm here for videos and I don't care about my business. At least we know the intention, right? And if you have those simple yes, I'm stating I want help, or I'm here for a specific reason, that's great for inbound, right? And I think outbound, people are just not sure how to do that in hospitality, how to do it in sell by chat, it's kind of what we're breaking down here is, what does it look like when you do outbound? And outbound, we've found that you have to state the intention early. Hey, this is what I'm doing now. I help so-and-so with ... Do you know anybody who would be interested in that? And usually they say, yes, I do. That's a referral. Or two, that's me.
Right.
I could use help with that. Then the question is, would you mind, if we dug in a little bit, do you want my help? And then you state that I can help you. Are you interested? And that's when the outbound goes from a conversation of engagement to ding, 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 a lead. They have stated that they want help. Other than that, they're just responding to a nice guy.
Totally. Yeah. I think that permission piece is super key. So, originally, like in my book, I call it the hook. The hook is the first part, is just like, what do we need to do to start the conversation? And once we have that conversation started, then it comes down to the hold. Now we have to keep them in the conversation. So it's like, great, we got the first reply, but now we need to kind of triage. Decide okay, is this person a prospect? Is this person a lead or not? And one of the best ways to do that is literally just to ask their permission. Like you said, you've got to be clear up front, because if we don't do that up front, then you kind of get into the friend zone, and it get now it feels a little like bait and switchy down the line, which is why people tend to not like sales, or be like, oh man, it's called sell by chat. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be salesy. But really what we just mean is we don't want to feel manipulator, oh, we're just having this conversation because. But if you start the conversation that way of hey, here's why I'm having this conversation. Here's the outcome that I can deliver. Here's the problem that I solve. Here's who I'm helping. Do you know anybody? Oh, that's you. Hey, would would it be okay if I asked you a few questions about your business? Or would it be okay if I asked you a few questions about, thing that you help with? And as soon as they say yes, then great, then you lean in. We do the same thing on sales calls, on actual, live, whether it be on Zoom or over the phone. I start every call the same, where I set the agenda because I want to take the lead in a sales call just in the same way that I want to in a sell by chat conversation. Hey, here's how these, I typically have a flow for how these calls work. Here's how it goes. We do this first, and then we dive into this, and then that, and then that. And then at the end, here's where we'll land. Is that okay with you? Like I'll always ask that, right? Because I want to get their buy-in, and the same thing in a sell by chat conversation. We'll say like, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Do you know anybody? Great. Yes. Okay. Would it be okay if I asked you a few questions about that? Because I might have some ideas for you. I just need a couple of answers. Would that be okay? So now we've gone from the hook to the hold. Now we have them leaning in, and we're ready for the next step in the process.
Yeah, and I think you're doing that really classic thing of like qualifying, do you want my help? Mm-hmm. And then once they say yes, and they've raised their hand, they go from that space to that lead, then those questions that you're asking them right there are qualifiers, right? That's the qualification stage. How big is your team size? How often do you eat out? Do you guys actually belong to any wine clubs? Do you have a problem with shipping wines? What are your favorite restaurants? You know, like when you ask someone like what your favorite restaurants are, and they say McDonald's, or they say, you know, fine dining, you can tell who you have on the other line, right?
Sure.
That this person has disposable income or they're living thrifty, right? It's either scarcity or abundance. And, you know, questions like, you know, how is business this year? What's your revenue like? Where are you from last year to this year? Do you want to dive into that a little bit? You know, how's your social media? Are you monetizing it? Do you want to dive into that a little bit? You know, like those are kind of those questions, like, and they say yes, then the questions you have right after that are qualify them towards your offer so you know that they're the right fit. And I think what I've heard and read and been taught is that it's really nice if you're going to exit somebody because they're not a fit, that you have a really clever way of doing it. And you're like, hey, your thresholds may not meet this offer that I have, but here's a free gift. Here's something that can get you up there, right? Like you thought that they had an ability and intention to be in your group or to be a part of your business, but they can't. So give them something that will help them get them there.
Totally. Let's talk about that for a minute, because for me, like that next start of the process. So if it starts with the hook, which is like, can we start the conversation? Then it's the hold, which is okay, like, can we get permission and actually like get them to lean in? Then it comes down to I call it the help. The help is the meat of the conversation, where even if we didn't go beyond this part of the conversation, the person on the other end of it should get value out of this. And usually that value comes from the clarity that you bring in the conversation. Now for me, selfishly in the conversation at this point, I'm asking 3 questions to essentially answer the question that you've got of like, okay, is this the right person or not? Like, is this like, are they a good fit for the offer? Because then they go down 2 paths after that, depending on whether it's a fit or not a fit. So the 3 questions I'm asking myself at this point in the process is, can I actually help them? Is this a now thing for them? And can they afford it? Because if they check those 3 boxes of I can help them, this is a now thing, can they afford it, then great. Then I'm in a good position to present my offer or the invitation and the final step, which I call the handoff, which is essentially now like that's where, depending upon what your next step in your process is, that's where we would hand them off to, you know, a reservation or booking a call or whatever your next step might be. But to kind of like triage and qualify, we want to get those 3 questions. And of those 3, honestly, the thing to me that's the most important is the second question, is this a now thing? So, you know, you imagine someone who is, traveling to the area. Let's say you have a restaurant, they're traveling to your area, or it's their anniversary and you're having that conversation. There might be a little more urgency around them wanting to make a reservation because of the timing of things versus just like, oh yeah, I liked your your photos. This is a cool thing. Like I'd love to check it out at some point, as it probably isn't on my radar, or you can kind of get the sense from someone, regardless of what you sell, whether you sell a physical product, an experience, your hospitality brand, doesn't matter. There is there's always an urgency scale. Like Carly and I were going to Thailand this summer for a mastermind. We're kind of doubling business and pleasure, our anniversary, along with the mastermind. We're kind of piggybacking those things together, right? And as we've gotten like closer to the date, the urgency of me booking those flights has gotten higher and higher. So if I had been in a sell by chat conversation with a travel agent a year ago, I'd be like, yeah, I want to book something, but it's like not super critical for me at this point, because I've still got whatever, a year and a half until the trip. Whereas like if you were talking to me today, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I got to book this now, which we did. We booked our flights. But if I hadn't booked yet, I'd be like, oh, like this is a now thing. So even if the resources, can you afford it? Can we help them? Even if those things are lower, like the urgency actually drives the conversation. So in this part of the conversation, I'm always like, okay, can we help them? Is this a now thing? Can they afford it? And that doesn't mean that I'm asking how much money's in their bank account or how much credit they have available to them. But I'm sussing that stuff out based upon, what they do for work, where they live, what are the things that they've tried in solving this problem before. You can kind of get a sense if this is going to be the kind of person that you want to work with or not, right?
The component of, are they the decision maker? Yep. Are they in a position to make a decision? Because some people are like, this is a now thing, but I'd have to talk to my bosses.
Totally.
About
that would be an important one for sure.
Yep. And I think you got to read that in the room, and that's what research is all about. And that's what you want to do when you kind of start to get into it. You want to learn more about who you're talking to, what their goals are. Is it a now thing? And if it was a now thing and the price was right and you really want to do it, are you actually the one who can make the decision?
Yeah.
So, it's like, no, I got to talk to my wife. That's not where we eat dinner. We don't travel, 40 miles for dinner these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
no,
I love it. I mean, can I help them? Is this a now thing? And can they afford it? And then they pop through all of those qualifying questions in your head. And then it's like, is this the right person to be talking to?
Right. Yeah. And at that point, that's where I call the handoff, which essentially is, okay, great. And I'll always reflect back to the beginning of the conversation of, hey, at the beginning of the conversation, I told you, I'm working with these kind of people looking to do this kind of thing. And you mentioned that, you're looking for the same thing. I've actually got, again, depending on what your next step of the process is, like for me, it's usually that strategy call. So it's like, hey, based on what we talked about, I'd really like to dive in deep on this plan for you. Probably take about 45 minutes. You and I could hop on a Zoom together and we could dive into it. How does that sound? So just making the invitation real simple there. And again, that could look like a number of different things depending upon what your business model is. Getting them booked in for a reservation. Hey, at the beginning call, I said we were, interested in sharing this new menu with a handful of people in the community that we knew would love it. Sounds like you'd be a great fit. Would love to get you booked in. I've got a couple of times next week. Is Wednesday or Thursday better for you? Like it could be straight to something like that, like whatever it is. But I always like to reflect back to, hey, here's what I said at the beginning. Here's what you said. Those things line up. Because what we're trying to do is like, I don't need to sell anybody anything. Like they are the ones internally selling themselves as we're going through the conversation. My job in the sales process is always just, can I help the person on the other end of the conversation make the best decision for them? And that usually is just sharing what we're up to, asking what they're thinking about, and then what they're thinking about should drive the decision of like, hey, you told me that you were looking to create some amazing experiences with your bride. Like that's exactly what we do. Why don't we just get you booked in? Like how can you argue with that? As opposed to like,
you're going to Thailand for a mastermind.
Yeah. As opposed to like, oh, like, hey, we've got this this special, and we've got this this elite club that you should be part of this club, and you're trying to sell that first, like, you're no wonder you're running into resistance. But if you actually have a conversation, like, you say, hey, like, hey, you said you cared about this, you said this was important, I have the solution for you, I have exactly what you asked for, like, how do you want it?
Yeah, I mean that's where you're starting to then you bounce into objections, and you're farther down the line into a place, right? And you say, "Is this a now thing?" And they say, "It feels like a now thing when I talk about it, but it's not a now thing when I think about spending money." And I think in the rules of engagement that you have to be very unique in those responses, and that's what objection handling is, right? They sound like it's a now thing, but when cash is presented to fix it, they become a delay thing. And that is basically, well, how much is it going to cost you to not do it today?
Yep.
What's the difference between this being something that you do 6 months from now, and how much money are you losing between today and 6 months from now by delaying? And that's what usually can get people to move a little bit quicker in the conversation, right?
Right.
I mean, it is engagement. And, I think a non-response that I wouldn't go for is to like, well, how much money are you going to lose between now and that? And if you don't do this today, if you don't buy today, you're going to lose money. Like the fear factor there's a lot of different ways of being strategic and how you handle those kind of objections. But, I think it's just
this
really
is a great
important.
place too for AI, right? Like this is a great, like, has made such a big difference for us in our communication, in our marketing, in our sales, being able to take actual conversations with customers, with prospects, with leads, with our market, and be able to feed that into AI to be able to go like, okay, hey, this, I thought it was a now thing based on these things, but then we got to the price and it kind of got fuzzy here and I didn't get the deal. What could I have done earlier in the conversation, or what could I have said better? And typically a lot of times if you do what I just shared and you start the conversation off in a way where you're framing it of like what you said, set the intention early, and then you ask the kind of questions to find out what they care about. If you do that part right, usually it's not about coming up with some fancy word salad to sound slick. It's usually just reflecting, like, you need to do a better job at holding them accountable to their own words of like, hey, here's like, you're saying that it's a now thing, but when it comes to spending money, it's not. So help me understand, like, what does that mean? Because it's either a now thing or it's not. Obviously, if it were free and took no energy, you would do all of it, but we only have so much time in the day and so much money in the bank account. So where are you going to spend it that's going to be better than this? And that's where, again, like, you're not trying to convince them or persuade them in that way. You're just trying to build the intention internally for them. Like, the tension should be building to where, like, they are having to wrestle with this of like, oh yeah, if I actually thought this was true. I mean, it's like one of my mentors said, like, I'll know what your priorities actually are based on where you spend your time and where you spend your money. So like, what's in your calendar and where, like, let me look at your bank statements. You can say all day long that you care about your kids, but if none of your time and none of your money is spent with your kids, then do you, like, I'm sure you love them, but you love these other things more. You love your business more. You love your, your Titans tickets more. Like whatever it might be. And that can be hard to hear sometimes, but I think it's something that's important, where I know I'm looking at that personally of like, is what I say is important actually the things that are showing up on my calendar and with my bank account? Because I might say one thing, but I'm actually living out. And that's what a good salesperson will do. Will help shine the light on those areas, although sometimes it can be uncomfortable. And then you just leave it up to the prospect to make the decision, which, depending upon what you sell and how much it costs, like if you're selling a $50,000 consulting package, this is a lot more advanced and strategic. If you're selling, a $10 condiment that goes on your pizza, we obviously can do this like with the stakes are much lower, so it's a lot easier game to win. So I want to make sure that that's very clear as well too, because obviously, like, we don't need to be overcoming objections to sell $10 condiments or even $100 bottles of wine. But if you're selling experiences or resort packages or consulting and those kind of things, you're going to run into this stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's just knowing your audience. I think set your intentions early, qualify them in your mind, and I say be excited about who you're talking to. Like, know what they want. Like, if you're gonna floodlight the solution and floodlight their pain and suspend them in a space where you're gonna have a conversation with them, keep the conversation short. Not the conversation short. Keep the responses short.
Sure.
4, 5, 6 words per response, multiple, like return, like do not do paragraphs. Nobody wants to read paragraphs that are complicated, like keep it very simple, keep it very forward driven, and then help them get to a place where they see your, whatever you have, your solution in their life.
Yeah.
And it feels like a now thing.
Boom.
Like, where are you going to eat next week? You're going to starve. You're going to starve to death.
We got to get you to the field.
Yeah. What's the field?
Get you to the field in your Peterbilt tractor. I'm trying to mix all the metaphors into one. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's really good. I love what you do with the compliment ladder. And how you take this approach, because I think, like you said, we come at it from different angles. I'm handling a lot of inbound, and I help our clients kind of generate inbound traffic and how to handle that. You're taking this outbound approach, which is, again, same tool, but we got to take a different approach with it. But any business can utilize this stuff, because, I mean, imagine, doesn't matter what the business is. Imagine that you had more conversations with your ideal customer. Do you think you're going to be able to serve more people and make more money? Of course. Then you should be doing engagement. You should be doing sell by chat. And we give you a pretty easy framework to follow. Start the conversation.
And think about this.
Yeah.
If you've got 5,000, 10,000, or 50,000 people that are following you and you're not doing sell by chat, you're leaving a ton of money on the table.
Oh, tons. Yeah.
Tons. And I think that's the place where you need to start investing right now. Number one, invest in your audience.
Do it. They deserve it. It'll pay a return. All right. I think that's the pod.